Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and on this episode of Holy Shit, Why'd They Do That?, we're looking at the McFarlane DC Multiverse animated series Superman figure, which I will say right off the bat, it's nowhere near as bad as Batman. Superman had a little bit more of a stylized look in the cartoons, though not as much as this. This is definitely closer to that source material, so there is some saving grace here, especially for you Superman fans. For you Batman fans, it's probably the worst thing that could happen, but it's still not great. It's still in line with the rest of the McFarlane toys in this new line. So this should be a fun video, so let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 7 1/4 inches, which makes him pretty close to, let's say, 18 centimeters, just over that. He does still have the really skinny legs, but now as you can see from this oh so conveniently included reference image, he definitely didn't have little tiny shrimpy legs and giant upper body, though he did have that upside down triangle build. So this is much closer to what it's supposed to be. Although if you look at the face, they still really didn't get it right at all. I don't know how you can include reference images and not use those reference images while sculpting, but they managed to do that. Now, good news for this guy is all of the blue is the same blue, give or take. Like, you have a few different plastics, so they reflect the light a little bit differently, but overall it looks pretty good. The cape is a nice molded red. This is molded red with yellow paint, and that's very clean. The belt, or the trunks and the belt, all molded red with the yellow on top. Not the cleanest. The blue ball joints work on this figure as opposed to the other Superman figure because they just match the sculpt, so that's good. The skin tone's very nice. The boots are molded in red. They did give kind of a wash in this line down here, and that doesn't look great, but it's not that big of a deal. So let's go ahead and talk about the overall appearance other than those specific... Oh, by the way, the face, it is done fairly well in terms of the paint. I mean, that's generally how they drew his eyes and mouth and everything, so that's okay. The hair is super glossy, and it's a separate piece, which is glued in place. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but mine is not glued in place properly, and there's a giant glued fingerprint right to the side of his head, so I don't know how well that's showing up, but you might get a good one, you might get a bad one, I don't know. Cross your fingers or check in the store, I guess, if you don't want to cross your fingers and order online. So like I said, his upper body definitely is big for the look that they should have been going for, but it's not that big. We do still have the really weird shaped arms. His are less S-shaped and more just very heavily curved and offset, so it's very strange. We'll get to that more in the articulation. Nowhere near as egregious as Batman. I think this, while it is very goofy, is something most people will probably be able to live with if they wanted a figure that looks like this. So I guess it's better than Batman. Like I said, though, his legs are still very strange, and they made him very knock-kneed, and the way they sculpted the outer part of his calves, which is how he's drawn most of these early, I guess, mid-90s, I don't remember what the date was for this anyway, or specifically, but they drew the outside of the calf curved and then the inside completely flat, and that would have been fine, except they just really sculpted it weird. Like, look at the boots. The boots don't look like what they're supposed to look like. They don't have, like, the little V in the front and then the rest of the boot. It's just kind of an offset M shape. It's really weird looking. He's very knock-kneed, and then they made the ankles very big, but you could probably live with that. So, like I said, definitely weird, nowhere near as bad as Batman. I'm going to give this a 6 for the aesthetic out of 10. As for the accessories, we do have the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package, and then we have 2 gun hands. Again, 2 trigger finger hands. That alone is enough for me to not want to buy anything from this company ever again. It's amazing to me that they are doing this. How do you give Superman gun hands? You don't even give him the hand that's on the card that you include with him. You don't have that. You have trigger finger hands for Superman. It is the most ridiculous thing. Complete disregard for what they're doing. They don't care. Don't give them money for things they don't care about. You don't need these things, guys. If you don't pay for them, they'll make better things next time. Or they won't and someone else will. That's how it works. You do get the card if you want that. I still don't get the idea of having a trading card with an action figure. A collectible card, sure, but it's advertised as a trading card. Are you going to buy Superman and trade his card for a Batman card? I don't think so. That makes no sense. We got a DC display stand with a little DC logo on it. Then lastly, we get a piece of metal that's like bent around somebody, and has a gripping spot for his hand. So I guess that's an okay accessory if you want to have his trigger finger hand holding a piece of metal. So accessory wise, 2 out of 10. On to the articulation. The head can look up pretty well. Takes a little bit of force, but it does look up, so that's good. The whole head is fairly flexible, so you probably can squish it around that neck pretty well. It does look down a little bit. You can definitely lean it to the side. You'll end up with some gapping, but I mean, you can't avoid gapping if you're going to go for extreme range, so just don't go as far and you'll be fine. So that's okay, and of course, full rotation. So the neck's actually pretty solid, double ball peg. For the shoulders, we have the ball peg that goes into the torso with the floating cap. I don't know why they're doing this on these, because even though they do work, like, you don't really gain any range. All you get to do is kind of make him look like he's pulling his shoulders back, but you can't do anything extra with the arms when you bring it forward. When you bring it back, it doesn't really matter. Like, it goes just the tiniest little bit difference, so I don't know why they're bothering, but they are. It doesn't hurt anything, so I guess that's fine. Then you have your standard ball hinge that rotates all the way except for where the cape is. Hinge wise, it goes just about horizontal. God, these curvy arms are definitely goofy looking. They're so weird. Okay, so onto the bicep area. We have our bicep swivel, but on a human, the bicep tucks in on the inside of the arm over by the armpit, that's where the muscle connects. They have theirs going up this way, and that's very strange because they also have the single jointed elbow, kind of like Batman, where it makes the arm curve in, though it's not anywhere near as bad as Batman, but the joint is still stupidly ugly. And just, it's so poorly conceived. I don't understand how that's happening in like a company that's been around for 30 years making action figures. Or even not articulated stuff. They've been in the game, guys. Stop treating them like they're new to this. They're not. They've made highly articulated stuff before. Also, look what happens when you bend the elbow. See all those little nubbins? When you bend it, it's not sculpted properly, so you get stress marks on both the top and the bottom of the outside and the bottom of the inside. So just using the articulation janks up the figure. So that's nice. That's pretty fun. Ball hinge is gigantic, so that's good. The wrists move around on that, obviously, so that's okay. The diaphragm joint on this guy, I can't get mine to really move. I can kind of twist it, but then it snaps back into place, but I cannot get it to really do anything. Down here, it's a little bit better. I guess it's not. I thought it was. It felt like it was going to move. I can force it to rotate. There you go. But I can't get any other range out of it. Not really. It's just kind of floppy. See? So that's kind of crappy. The legs are on ball pegs this time, which is a little bit different. Although they're not as loose as they could be, they're still very, very loose legs. And he's very top heavy, so don't expect many poses like this. Also, they decided to not include a flight stand for this guy like they did with the other Superman. Bringing the leg forward is impossible beyond that, so almost no range. Going back, it has a little bit better range, and you do get a little bit of a thigh swivel out of it, though almost none. For the knees, we do have a double jointed knee, that's fine. That works well enough. It's okay. It's a little odd looking, but it's not too bad. And then for the ankles, we have giant ball hinges, so of course you get really good range out of that. That's to be expected. If the ball hinge is bigger than the limits connected to, you're going to have good range. Toe hinge, not the best toe hinge design we've seen, but at least it's far enough forward that it looks natural. It's not very tight, but it is there and it's not bad, so that's okay. So, articulation verdict on this guy is going to be a 6 out of 10 because the abdominal section doesn't work at all, and the hips suck. You can't bring the legs forward, so that's no good. So, time for the final verdict. Like I said, definitely better than Batman. Without a doubt, 100% better than Batman. That's not saying that much, though. Batman was a very, very terrible figure. Awful. Toilet level figure. This one is not that bad, so I'm going to give it a final verdict of 6 out of 10. If you were into this and you thought you might like it and you don't care about the things I pointed out, then get it. But if you are critical in your purchasing because you have limited funds and you want better figures and don't want them to keep making crap, then I would highly recommend you don't get it. Because the more figures we buy that aren't good, the more they're going to make, guys. It's very, very simple. We don't have to buy these. These aren't the last action figures ever being made. You can wait for somebody to make better ones, whether it's McFarlane or somebody else. If you don't like it, don't buy it just because it exists. All that does is encourage them to make more of the same quality. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you probably should. I have new videos out just about every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.